Want to make sure we cover them tonight.
Beautiful. All right, so we got about a minute and a half to the top of the hour, and we'll get started. So we want to say welcome to each and every one of you. This is the Enriching Gifts Education Call. It's January 20th, 2021, Inauguration Day. Lots going on in the world. We're right where we're supposed to be on this call, so it's beautiful.
I agree.
Yes, super excited. And welcome and welcome. And if you have not had an opportunity to say hello, please do so. This is Dover in Seattle taking introductions for the Enriching Gifts Education Call. Hi, Susan. Welcome to the call. You're on mute. I heard you. I read lips.
Hi, glad to be here.
Yes. We're glad to have you. Welcome to the call.
Thanks.
Welcome. All right. Well, we're going to get the call started so we can start on time. There's lots of great information Ron is going to be sharing with us. And for those of you, maybe this is your first time listening to this call. And so we're fortunate. We have the founder of enriching.gifts.com and Mr. Ron Schneider here. He's here each and every week, and he's here to not just preach, but teach us and educate us on the benefits of understanding your body, understanding your health, your immune system, awareness. So we're very fortunate, as I said, we're in the second week of a series on the product line with the Enriching Gifts. Last week we covered the staple, I would say the staple product, which is the digestive plant enzyme. And today we're going to focus on the immune system specifically with a product called Sterol Max. So with that being said, I want to bring you out, Ron, and say welcome to the call. Appreciate you again taking the time to share with each and every one of us your passion. I know it's not work for you. This is you eat, sleep, and breathe this, but nonetheless, you're here day in and day out, week in and week out. So welcome to the call, brother.
Yep, it's always a pleasure to be each and every week because, like I said, 30 years ago, I made a commitment to make sure that every single human being on this planet had the opportunity to live an extraordinary lifespan with great health all the way up to their genetic potential if they so choose. So these calls are for the people that choose to get educated, get inspired, learn about the body, and get the best life they can live. And that's what these calls are all about. So, and last week you mentioned we did talk about plant enzymes. So I want to revisit that for just a couple minutes because there are three really important things that I left out of that. And it's not it is the foundation, not the crutch, it's the foundation. Nothing else happens until digestion happens in the human body. Absolutely nothing. Because no cell function occurs without nutrients. And no enzyme is activated without nutrients. So, and then in order to put the nutrients in the form that the cells and enzymes can activate and function with is called the digestive process, the breaking them down from the food source to the cellular level use. So I talked a lot about enzymes last night or last week, what type of enzymes we have. They're plant enzymes, the different types of protease, amylase, lipase, cellulase, sucrase, all of that stuff. But what I didn't talk about is the simple little things that everyday people do that literally rob their own body's production of enzymes working well for them. And what I mean by that is how many ounces of water do you drink a day? That's point number one. Everybody should drink a minimum of half their body weight in ounces of water a day. Now we're getting tailored to very specific individuals. Half your body weight must be consumed in ounces of water every day. So if you're a 150-pound person, you should be consuming 75 ounces of water per day because all enzymes in the human body, for that matter, most enzymes, if not all enzymes on the planet Earth that have anything to do with growing or living form, are all hydrolytically activated. That's why when we go to look to outer space and see the potential of humans colonizing another planet, you have to have oxygen, you have to have water. Those are the two fundamentals of life on planet Earth as we all know it. So getting back to half the ounces of water, so you're not only required to drink 50% of your body weight in ounces of water a day, but the proper way to keep your body cellularly hydrated is drink half of your daily, so now 25% of your body weight should be consumed within the first 4 hours after you wake up and get out of bed. Why is that so critically important? Because if you're like normal people, you'd have slept 7 to 8 hours, maybe even 10 hours. And there was no water consumption. And yet your body still functioned all night long, using up water to activate all those enzymes and carry out all that cellular functioning activity. So your body every morning when you wake up is dehydrated. And if you don't get in at least half your body weight in ounces of water a day, then you're what we're called chronically hydrated. And I tell you, I can get rid of about 35 to 40% of all diseases in the world if I could just get people to drink half their body weight in ounces of water a day, and then take that 25% of your body weight or 50% of your 50% that you're supposed to drink. Half of that has to be consumed within the first 4 hours after you wake up. Second thing, when you're drinking water, don't ever drink it cold. Don't ever drink it cold. Your body will not absorb cold water. It shuts down the cell functioning in the human body. Just like when your body dies in where they do all the crabbing fishing and stuff, the Bering Sea. It's so cold, you die of hypothermia. Well, why would you die just being in cold water? Because that water temperature lowers the enzyme environment temperature so low, the enzymes no longer function. The cells don't function, you die. Simple as that. And when you start drinking ice water, that's exactly what you're doing on a minor scale every single day. You're making it hard for your body to hydrate. You're making it hard on your heart because it has to pump all of that stuff at a much more faster accelerated rate, trying to warm it up to where it can be absorbed into the bloodstream. And so don't ever drink ice cold water with your meals. Don't ever do it because it shuts off the digestive enzymes. So half your body weight in ounces of water, try to drink at room temperature if you can every day. And then the other thing is do not take that water with your meals. Don't drink water with your meals. If you look at your mother and your grandmother, they never ever had a pitcher of water or ice water or McDonald's ice Coke or whatever sitting on the table or served with the meal. We never had water on the table when I was a kid. And now I understood why. Because that's just going to not only, one, dilute your digestive capability, slow it down by putting in more fluids and making a larger volume that the enzymes have to somehow function within. But then you put in ice water or cold water, and it just shuts off your enzymes. Your own natural body's digestive enzymes, that's where all this colitis, Crohn's, irritable bowel, leaky gut, and all this other crap disease comes from, because your digestive system is constantly being shut down because it's being consumed as ice water. That's where this all starts. And I want all of you to think about for a few seconds, how many of you, just like me, have been sitting there drinking water for the last 55 years of your life? Probably even the last 60, because I've ever since I was 4 or 5, I could start getting my own ice. And by the time I was 11, I had my own paper route, and I was going to the Dairy Queen and getting ice Cokes and all kinds of stuff, just ice everywhere. And eventually that's going to cause your stomach to bloat, over-enlarge, and it's just not healthy for your body to be doing any part of that at any age. So help your kids, your grandkids, and your immediate family as well as yourselves understand this. Cold water is okay on a nice hot day if you want to just drink 4 ounces real quick. Hey, no big deal. But to sit there and start drinking these 8, 16, 24, 48, 64-ounce glasses, it's just ridiculous. And I just can't believe how many people I just watch. I've been doing this consciously now, especially for the last couple of years, trying to clean up my own diet. And I just look at people and I'm just shaking my head constantly. I mean, constantly, every day, hundreds of people. All I have to do is just look out, and here they're walking around with these big old aluminum mugs and this and that, but everything's iced water or an iced drink. So don't ever do that, especially during mealtime. The time you hydrate is within a half hour before you eat a meal, no water consumption, and at least a half hour to 25 minutes after you've eaten a meal, no water consumption. And I don't say don't ever have any water laying around. Heaven forbid somebody doesn't have any water on the table in case you start to choke or something. But don't ever consume more than 2 to 4 ounces at any sitting anywhere near a half hour before, after, or during consuming a meal. It's just not healthy. And the minute you say, oh, well, I can't do that, that's what I used to say too. And Dover, you know this, because if people paid attention when they're coming out to eat with me at restaurants and stuff as we travel around the United States, you'll always see me have that big glass of water. I'll even request water. That water sits there until I'm done with my last bite of food. It'll sit there for at least 15 minutes later, and then you'll see me down that whole glass of water all at once. And it's ice. But by then, all the enzymes, all the everything's ahead of that water. So I'm not saying you can't have iced water, just don't have it anywhere near your meal consumption, because it'll shut off the enzymes that your body makes. It'll shut off the enzymes that you get out of the Enriching Gifts capsules. It just flat shuts them all off. Why do you think the grass in the lawn dies during the wintertime? Because of the cold temperature, the enzymes become inactive. Trees are no longer brown and bark, they turn gray, lifeless. That's all because of lowered temperature. And so that's how it affects nature, that's how it affects your human body. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood, one, to drink half your body weight in ounces of water. Two, absolutely try your fundamental, absolute hardest and best. Never take in any kind of cold water anywhere near meal consumption. Okay? And then the third thing about enzymes is it's the most calorie burning process in the human body. You can actually use the digestive process to lose weight. And this high protein diet called the keto diet, or the Power Up Protein Plan that was Michael Thurman 15, 20 years ago. And before that, it was the crazy gal out of California, Susan Powder with the spiky white hair. It was all about protein, 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 protein. And that is the way that you can use your meal to actually force your body to metabolize fat calories as an energy source. And so those are the three things I wanted to just kind of real briefly talk to people about with regards to the digestive enzyme. So if anybody's got any real quick questions, just save them until we're at the end of the call for the digestive thing, write it down. But we got to get moving on to the Sterol Max, because again, I just want to remind people that the products that I'm going to talk about for the first 5-6 items of this new, I'll call it a re-education or an introduction in education to the Enriching Gifts products. It's all about the systems. It's all about the major metabolic functioning systems. Digestive enzymes address and support the most important metabolic activity and cell functioning in the human body, digestion. That's by far number one. Number two is you can have a cellular functioning body, but it's only as good as how well it's being protected. And that's why the human body has immune system cells, to protect the body as our daily environment and different things in our food and things we come in contact with daily. Our immune system protects us from deterioration. Our immune system protects us from things that would enter the body, such as bacteria, parasites, virus, fungus, mold, so on and so forth. It'll eat all of that stuff up, never allowing it to get into the bloodstream and circulate to the most other parts and organs of the body. So we came up with this, I won't say it's ingenious, but it's out of desperation that we came up with it. But we were able to horticulture our own soybean hybrid species of a sprout. And that was created at University of Hawaii Pacific way back in 1997. When I just within the first year after I moved over there. And this plant had never existed before. It's an organic process. It's grafting, with multi-different generations of grafting. And we were able to actually create what we called the oilseed plant. And it's a hybrid soybean. But it has a 1-to-1 glucoside to sterol ratio. No other soybean or sprout source anywhere on the planet Earth has anything even close to that. Professor Carl Pagel, I met him down in South Africa at the Dow Medical Center in 1994. And that's when I started traveling to Africa with Dr. Hall, Bill Clinton's U.S. AIDS ambassador. And he introduced me to Nelson Mandela, and I started traveling over there back and forth, even not without Dr. Hall. I would just, and I traveled to the country of Nigeria, which he actually introduced me to that. But I got into Natal Medical Center Dr. Hall had nothing to do with that. That was some other medical connections that I had. But anyway, this Professor Carl Pagel, he's the head of the applied chemistry department, or used to be. Anyway, he no longer is. But he was the head of the applied chemistry department. And his whole life's work, over 50 years plus, I talked about my 30 years. Well, he had over 50 years invested in researching sprouts, specifically glucosides and sterols. There's 3 different categories of sterols, and sterols are nothing more than plant fats, but they're unique fats. They don't oxidize like LDL cholesterol. They're just like an HDL that your body produces. They never, ever oxidize. Coconut oil. When was the last time you left coconut oil on a shelf, left the lid on it, and seen it turn brown, even after 25 years? You don't. You can leave that lid off even for 25 years. I lived in Hawaii for 5, and I did that exact demonstration, and it was just as white and oily. 5 years later, same smell, same color, same texture, everything. Zero oxidation, zero deterioration. So that's the benefit of plant fats or plant sterols. So now you can actually use them to reduce your LDL cholesterol buildup in your body. You can literally create more non-oxidating sterols by consuming sterols from the plants, such as the Sterol Max. Or you can just take extra virgin coconut oil every morning, 1 hour before your morning breakfast or anything, and just take a tablespoon in the morning, take a tablespoon at night. And you go back to your cardiologist or your lipid tech and get your cholesterol levels done. And in just 3 months, you can literally lower your LDL, which is your fast oxidizing bad cholesterol. You can literally lower that by as much as 43%, not points, 43%, literally knock it in half. And the other thing that this does is it actually contributes to the accumulation of HDL, which is your non-oxidizing good cholesterol in your body. It'll actually raise that up to somewhere, most people is in the 30s, 40s, low 50s. Mine's consistently now for the last 16 years been over 100. My HDL is over 100, which means my LDL cholesterol could be over 300 before I have any kind of oxidizing or hardening of cholesterol that would potentially build up in the human body. And you notice I never once mentioned statin drugs, Lipitor, Zocor, Crestor, this core, that core. You can do all this naturally. And I've got probably
Why don't you
close
go
to
ahead and get
37.
time right now, son? It's 6:45.
Yeah.
You're good, Ron. You want to unmute? You're muted out. Ron, if you're talking, you're muted and we cannot hear you.
Okay, I'm not sure how I got muted. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you
Over?
loud and clear.
Okay, all right. So anyways, so you've got this, instead of taking statin drugs, which lower your coenzyme Q10 levels, and they pose a whole lot of other problems, because one thing you can't do is lower LDL cholesterol too low. Just getting it down to 100 or lower is just totally ridiculous. Raise up your HDL. That way you can maintain a high level of LDL, and your body has what it needs in order to convert LDL cholesterol into vitamin D3. Why is that important? Because vitamin D3 is the carrier for calcium into the cell structure of the human body. Magnesium can increase the absorption of calcium, doesn't do you a hill of beans just to have it sitting in there floating around in the bloodstream. It only benefits you when it can be carried into the cell membrane. And vitamin D3 is the carrier for calcium into the cell membrane. So it's the horse that literally leads the cart. And that comes from your LDL, your so-called bad cholesterol. That's where all vitamin D3 is made from. HDL doesn't make vitamin D3, only LDL does. So you have to have LDL in abundance and enough to where you can actually absorb and utilize calcium. So, but the Sterol Max, these are these very unique fats. And there's three types of categories for sterols. There's Kampa, Cyto, and Beta sterols. Kampa, Cyto, and Beta. And of all the ones that benefit the human body, there's only one out of the three that benefit the human body as immune modulators or things that the immune system would use to activate and function with. And that's called the beta cytosterol. So a alpha and a Kampa sterol, they're really just fats. They're neither good nor bad. They're just fats that your body would use, just like any other fat source. But the beta cytosterol has a unique third molecule attached to it. It's a side molecule called the glucoside, which is a pre-sugar molecule. And the only time you ever find this molecule attached to a plant sterol is during the sprout phase. What is a sprout phase? It's when the seed grows that little stem. Now you have a sprout. And if you let that sprout, that single blade of grass, grow long enough, then it actually grows a leaf. And we all know, if we remember back to first and second grade, basic biology in the gardens and stuff, what do we know about plants that have leaves? They're just that. They're plants. They're no longer a sprout. Anything that has a leaf is now a plant. A sprout is a single blade of grass that has no leaf to it. That's the definition of a sprout. So this unique glucoside molecule, this pre-sugar molecule, Professor Pagel was the one who wrote extensively about this, researched it extensively. He was good 35, 40 years into whole research by the time I met him. And I'm not going to get to the negative side of all the stuff that went on in Africa with Patrick Buick and Lorna Vanderhage. They kind of stole his research, went over to Cape Town and started promoting a product called Moducare. But it was all based on Professor Carl Pagel's discoveries and research with plant sterols and glucosides. But that's all I'm going to say about that. And they're not a very good company. They do not have a good quality product, and they are marketed through the medical community, so good for them. But what he discovered was that each vegetarian or sprout source had a different ratio of glucosides to sterols. And the most concentrated he could find was what they called a hypoxis potato. That's why in looking at my label, you only see 4 sprouts in there. We used to have 5. And the hypoxis potato, when I first brought this to America, was actually in the Sterol Max label. I've got one of those labels still. It's probably a good 20 years old out in my little China cabinet where I keep all of my old formulas and products and things that I private labeled for other people and stuff over the last 30 years. But the hypoxis potato was indigenous only to South Africa. But they found that it had a much higher concentration of glucoside to sterols than any other plant source that they had ever researched up to that point. And that was a 21-to-1, meaning it took 21 parts of sterols, the plant fats, just to get one single part of a glucoside. And they even went through full phase of germination to sprout to a plant. And it never became more concentrated than a 21-to-1. So what that meant was you had to consume about 16, 14 pounds of sprouts every day just to get a significant amount of glucosides to benefit your immune system cells in functioning and enlarging and becoming more active and so on and so forth. I'll get into all that in a little bit. So that wasn't a reality. That's not going to work for most people. And then Moducare went and started diluting it, figured out a way to patent it, but they patented it to keep people off of the market and out of the market. And they're very successful for a lot of decades, a couple decades anyway, until I came along. And then me and Professor Pagel started working together. And then I figured out a way to circumvent their patents. And they tried to sue me out of Denver, Colorado, and they lost. And they lost so badly that they actually took out their main active ingredient and could no longer produce that product anymore. So the tall oil pine pitch which was a throwaway product from the lumbering industry. That's what they had as their active ingredient under the Moducure label years ago. It was toxic. It actually caused brain cancer. So they had to get rid of that, and then they went to a regular soybean. And the problem with that is the soybean sterol they're using is a throwaway product of the vitamin E industry. It doesn't have an active glucoside. It's all been heat treated, trying to sweat out the vitamin E from the soybean. So again, just really cheap crap, and that's just what that company is all about, and it'll never change. I haven't seen any change in the label now for well over probably 12 years, if not 15. So, but it's really important that you understand there are other people out there with sterol products. And every single one of them, their sterol source comes from China. And they're throwaway byproduct of the vitamin E industry. So that's important to note. I'm not going to be on naming the names beyond Moducare because I have my own issues with them personally. But it is important that you understand where this thing comes from. And like I said, we used to have the hypoxis from Africa. We don't do that anymore. I went to 100% organic sprouts, and we were only getting 3 out of the 5 that I had that were certified as organic. So I wanted to make a cleaner product, and when I moved to Hawaii in '97, we wanted to make the ultimate, cleanest, best producing results product that there was anywhere in the world. And that's what we have today is the Sterol Max under the Enriching Gifts label. Because that now has the oil seed, and you'll see at the top, it's just listed as a soy sprout. That is our oil seed sprout, but for sakes of label and simplicity, we just put soy sprout at the top of the label. But that's our number one sprout source. So by far, the far majority of what's in that capsule is a 1-to-1 sterol to glucoside. Now, why is this glucoside so funny and everybody yips up and talks about it, or even the sterol fats, the beta-cytosterol? What's so beneficial about it? Well, Professor Carl Pagel, he had actually been researching these sprouts for literally decades, and he found and identified 6 different enzymes that are activated with glucosides. And what do these 6 enzymes do within all immune system cells, like the basophils, the eosinophils, neutrophils, monocytes, lymphocytes, leukocytes, T cells, antibody cells, all of this stuff? These 6 enzymes that are activated carry out the modulation, which means to regulate, and the proliferation ability, the ability to reproduce. Those are the enzymes that are activated and modulated with glucosides and sterols. And when you start putting these sterols into the daily diet, what you see is about the time of 6 months of regular use, you're going to see your immune system start to really enlarge itself. It's starting to grow. And I mean, it just doesn't grow like 1 time or double or 3 times its size. It'll grow 5 and 6 times as large of a cell as what's circulating in your blood today. And further research has shown that when you enlarge the human cell membrane, you're actually going to increase the amount of nucleus material that cell functions with, up to 400%. And because now you've got a larger cell, much more nucleus material to function with, overall immune system functioning can be elevated and increased to up to 759% increase of efficiency of functioning. Man, aren't we glad that we got something like this in the age of COVID? Because after all the people that survived COVID-19 without drugs, what caused them to survive the virus? The immune system's ability to function highly, efficiently, strongly, and effectively. It kills the virus. That's what your immune system's supposed to do. Produces antibodies that literally neutralize and then break down the virus. So that's what we can do with our immune system today. And like I said, there's more than just one sprout in there. The top one is the oil seed or the soybean sprout. The second one is fenugreek. Fenugreek on its own has very unique properties. Fenugreek is excellent for detoxification. Fenugreek is high in zinc. And what do we know about zinc? Zinc actually is the main nutrient that activates and regulates the speed of activity of all immune system cells. That's why you see zinc in lozenges and zinc with this and zinc with that during the cold and flu season. And you can buy any over-the-counter product, added zinc, enhanced zinc, increased zinc. That's why. Because it's focused, it's a main mineral. It focuses on all the enzymes that regulate the activity of the immune system. So that's one of the unique features of fenugreek. And then barley and wheat, they both have a little bit of gluten in them. So this is not a gluten-free product. It's very, very low in gluten, though, by the way. I will say that because we actually had this tested for gluten-free, and it came back with trace amounts of gluten in it. Because these are sprouts, and that's another thing that we should talk about right now. So many people see soy, barley, wheat. Oh, I have sensitivities. I'm gluten intolerant. I have celiac sprue disease, or I'm very sensitive to gluten. Well, you know what? The sprout, gluten is a protein that's produced by a mature plant. Remember, it's the wheat, it's the grain, it's the soy, it's the grain. In order to get a lot of gluten formed in any form of a plant that has gluten, you're going to have to produce the seed or the grain. And that's where most 95% of all the gluten's at. A sprout does not have those proteins developed in it yet. Remember, it's just a blade of grass. And that blade of grass doesn't look anything like a grain of soybean or a grain of wheat or a grain of barley. It just doesn't. So it lacks the proteins that most people are allergic to. And that's one of the benefits why I say everybody should try the Sterol Max. Even if you've got a history of being gluten intolerant or gluten sensitive, chances are, unless you're really, really highly sensitive, to where you could take and die from just a little trace amount of it, you'd have to be that sensitive in order to have a reaction from our Sterol Max. So it is relatively safe for everybody, even the people that have gluten intolerance conditions. And so that I just wanted to bring that up because that is something we want to make people aware of, but at the same time want to educate people. I don't want anybody being so afraid to not try this. Because this will make a Hercules out of your immune system, which will just make a disease-fighting machine where you can have a great quality of life that's never compromised throughout your whole lifespan. And it's one thing to say we got a great, big, huge Hercules immune system built, but always remember, where do most of the blood or the immune system cells function? Within the bloodstream and within the lymphatic system. And it all gets there via the bloodstream. So your efficiency of functioning, once you've got it enlarged with the use of the Sterol Max and then you maintain it, your efficiency of functioning of that Hercules immune system is now going to be dependent upon how many enzymes you're taking every day. How clean are you keeping that bloodstream, the environment in which that immune system cell has to function? Because nothing will suppress your immune system's ability to function efficiently more so and worse than your daily meat flesh diet. It'll just totally shut it off. Bring it down from 1,300% right down to zero of activity. And it can do that in less than 3 hours. And I'm not kidding. 1,300% to zero amount of activity within just 3 hours after eating a protein meal, like a steak or something like that. I've seen this in a blood test. I've actually done it many, many hundreds of times, showing people the effects of their diet, especially professional sports athletes. They've got to be able to perform on that court, whatever that court is, or whatever that sport is. Their livelihood and their money and their pocketbooks and bank account all relies on that. And so I used to deal with a lot of different sports athletes, a lot of professional basketball players and such as the Phoenix Suns. And I'd actually work with them and try to customize their diet. And it wasn't even after probably about a couple of years, I said, to hell with this customizing a diet. Take enough enzymes and look what you're going to see. And constantly we could just pop their blood at any time, and all you saw was a great, clean, pristine environment of red blood cells and red blood environment. So you don't compromise anything. You've got great nutrition. You've got great digestion. That's the key to health. don't ever buy into the fact that somebody's going to sell you a magic pill and think you're going to be cured and that's all you get. That's a bunch of BS. It's about a balance. It's about addressing the 5 major metabolic functioning systems of the human body. And if you don't address all 5 on a daily basis, it only takes one to fall down because the entire human body is interconnected. It only takes one to fall down to affect the other 4 in a negative way. Okay? So, and the proper way to take Sterol Max, and again, for people that are new to the call, go to the enriching-gifts.com website. I believe it's on the products page, 2nd or 3rd tab down. It says how to use the Enriching Gifts products. And Dover, you can kind of correct me after I'm done with this a little bit. You know more about that, where it's at on the webpage than I do. But there is a place you can go to where you can get the greatest, most potential benefit from the Enriching Gifts products from the first day you start taking the product. And you go to that how to use chart and make sure you take it exactly as the chart says, whatever product it is. We got all products on there. We got the first 16 weeks worth of use, and then from there on after that as well. It's all on the website. But it's really imperative and important that everybody understands Sterol Max is only taken 1 time a day. And it has to be taken the very first thing, 1 hour before any meal consumption or vitamins or any kind of nutrients whatsoever. It has to be taken on an empty stomach, and the only time of the day you take it is first thing in the morning, because these are macromolecules, which means they're very large molecular substances. And one Sterol molecule can plug up the entire villi receptor chute of where your nutrients are absorbed from your GI tract into your bloodstream. Just one Sterol molecule can plug that whole thing up. So you don't want to compete with other nutrients. That's the point of that. And the most potential time that you'll have an empty stomach is the first time you wake up after 6-7 hours of sleep. And so try not to be a nighttime eater too. That'll even benefit your immune system that much more. But the proper way to take this is 1 hour before your morning meal, and you double dose for the first 3 months. You double the dosage. You're taking 6 capsules a day, 1 hour before your morning meal. And after that 3rd month, then you can just knock it down to 3 or 4 and just stay on that until 9 months. After 9 months, you just take 3 a day and you just stay on that. And glucosides, the reason you take the 6 a day for the first 3 months, because again, I'm going to go back to our research in South Africa and Nigeria, along with Natal Medical Center and Professor Pagel. One thing we found out is that during the first 77 days, so that's 2.5 months, during the first 77 days, your body will absorb up to 97.3% of every single bit of sterol you put in it. Think about that. You're absorbing up to 97% of every bit of nutrient you're putting into your body. And at no other time will your body ever absorb that much. Because between 77 days and 90 days, so now we've got that little extra 10 days, 12 days, whatever it is, it's not even 2 weeks. But we noticed that 97% literally drops down to about 43, 45%. It drops in half. And after you've been on this stuff for that 9 months, your body doesn't even use up but maybe 17 to 22 milligrams a day. So why do I keep taking 3? Because you never know when your body's going to need that extra absorption of sterols to kick up your immune system. And that's what it's there for. So maintain it. So it becomes very inexpensive after that first 90 days, because then you're only talking about a single bottle every single day. You're not talking about double dosing. But it is really important for you to double dose for the first 3 months, because once those 3 months are gone, you're never ever going to get that absorption up there. We just couldn't get our body to absorb more than that after the 77 days. It literally drops way, way down, because it's only going to accumulate so much, and then it's going to stop absorbing. So for the first 77 days, to get it building up as fast as we can, strong as we can, double the dosage of Sterol Max for the first 3 months. And after that, just cut it down to 3 capsules, 1 hour before your morning meal or before any nutrient consumption. And that 1 hour is a must. You know, I used to want to kind of pussyfoot around, I guess is the best word I could call it, and be really compassionate to people. Oh yeah, probably not going to make a difference. It makes a huge difference. It really, really does. The only time it doesn't make a huge difference is after you've been on it for more than 9 months. Then your body is so saturated that, you know, even if you skipped a couple days, probably wouldn't notice a big difference, because there's plenty there and your body's just not metabolizing much of it on a daily basis. But you don't want to stop taking it. Like I said, one time you don't, you know, all of a sudden you go on a vacation and 2 weeks becomes a month. I'm fine. And then all of a sudden, bam, you're going to get hit with a cold or something, stupid illness or something. And that could have all been prevented. So that's all I wanted to talk about with the sprouts. So I'll go ahead and open up the call. And Dover, if you have any more input that I forgot, please go ahead and address that. And for people that had any questions about the enzymes and the water issues in the first part of the call, or any questions about the sprouts, just go ahead and ask away. So let's go ahead and do live interactive.
Ron, this is Shelley from Colorado, and I do have a couple questions from, I was on last week's call, and after I thought about it, I did have some questions. How long after you take the enzymes are they still effective? So say you have your meal, you take it before your meal, and then maybe an hour later you have, a dessert of some kind or something like that, or a little snack.
So you're saying you took them and then you ate a meal, and
Right.
Are there any left over active to digest a snack an hour later?
Right.
Am I understand? Yeah, no,
Yes.
there is none left over. It's all used up digesting the meal.
Okay, so you should take then another couple enzymes if you were to
Well,
have.
just one. I mean, unless you're eating a meal, you really only need to take one in between meals and stuff like that. Or unless you're consuming a large amount of food, like more than 3 to 4 ounces of something, then you'd want to take probably a couple. But yeah, if you address usually the big meat meal, the lunch, the breakfast, and the dinner, if you just address those, there's usually enough that's left over. If you're taking it off properly, there's usually left enough over in the bloodstream as it starts to build up and accumulate to cover your little minor snacks of the day.
Okay.
I don't think
And
anybody
then,
should be taking more than 12 capsules in a single day. 3 each meal, 3 at night before you go to bed, and that should be more than enough. It was for me, and I used to eat a large volume of food when I had time to eat, that was. And I could just pop my blood. Dover knows this. I did this in Cancun, Mexico. Tom Brewer knows this. I did it all over the U.S. I had no problem popping my blood just as somebody wanted to challenge me because I was a heavy guy. Oh, you can't be that good. Want to bet? Let's put our fingers on the microscope and then we'll compare. And I came out perfect every single time. But that's because I know that there's accumulation benefit of having all those enzymes on a regular basis. They will accumulate and they stay active until they're actually used up. And so you can build up a reserve in the bloodstream for when those days that you don't take enough per meal, or when you happen to miss and you're out in a social setting or something, you forget to take them. They're there. You're not going to go backwards sliding right away.
Okay, that kind of brings up the next question of, can you take too many?
No.
I mean, is it?
Nope.
Okay. So they're
What
safe,
would
and
be
you
your
might be
concern
wasting
of
them.
taking? No, you can never waste an enzyme either, because like I said, if they're not used up, they will accumulate in the blood until they are used up.
Okay.
They're active.
And
As long as they're active, they have to do something to become inactive or used. And they're always, once they're consumed, they're always going to be active until they're consumed and used up by something, whether it's a meal, whether it's detoxification, whether it's breaking down scar tissue or getting rid of all the protein on your red blood cell membrane. I mean, there's no such thing as wasting a digestive enzyme, not in this formula anyway, because they're fully active in all pH and temperature ranges in the human body, every single strain.
And then my last question is are they safe to give your cat? We have a cat with some teeth issues, and they're minor
How
teeth
old is
issues.
your cat? Yeah, how old is your cat?
Cat's young, probably 4. And
Oh, yeah. So it's not
I have been putting them in his water.
problem.
Okay.
That's what?
I just been putting a capsule in his water.
I'll tell you what the cats love is just take and stick that little capsule inside of their cat food. Give them canned cat food, that little pasty kind of cat food. They love it in there.
Yeah.
We feed our cats. In
Okay.
fact, we give it to our golden retriever pup. We've been giving it to our cats up at the lake, and these cats are over 10 years old now. We discovered them underneath our deck when we first started building our training center. And they just seen them last week, and they're big, fluffy, got really nice coats, and they're 10 years old, and they're just outdoor cats, and they can still run and jump 5-6 feet up our retainer wall where our garden's at. They're phenomenal. We give them enzymes all the time.
Okay. Yeah, because cats
All
are
right.
sensitive to certain things. So,
Yeah. Nope, this should help them out a lot.
and then what other benefits can you get from plant enzymes besides just the normal digestion?
Well, like I said, in long-term effects, it really broadens out in tremendous amounts of benefits. You can actually reduce and break down scar tissue. It's been in your body for literally years, like a broken back, a broken shoulder bone, a broken bone of any kind, severe inflammation and damage to the tissue of your GI tract lining and stuff, like irritable bowel, colitis, Crohn's. All of that stuff's going to have scar tissue with it. And scar tissue is just a dead couple of proteins woven together. And so it's there. The immune system doesn't like to deal with it because it creates this barrier between that and healthy tissue. So it has a limit on how far it can go. But digestive enzymes don't. If it's dead, it's going to eat away at it, which restores good circulation. And now the area heals because it doesn't have that scar tissue barrier between good circulating nutrients and oxygen and that dying, dead, damaged tissue from previous. That's one thing. You can oxygenate your body. Just take that little oximeter that you hook up to your index finger. Just see how much oxygen you can actually increase just within about 5, 10, 15 minutes at the most after taking an enzyme or 2 capsules. Just sit in the chair, hook up your oximeter, and then let's look at it. It'll go from 89, 92, 94, all the way up to 100%. I do it all the time. In fact, my doctor, Joy Huber, made a comment to me the last time I was in there, and now I was in there a 4th time. A lot of you guys don't know this, but last week, Friday, I had surgery for removal of a big, huge, boil. But I don't think it was a boil. I think it was as big as an egg. It was a huge sack, and I couldn't sit down, and a lot of pain and stuff. But anyways, he even made a comment. He said, "Are you always at 100% oxygen?" I said, "Yep, the last 3, 4, now it's the 4th time I've been in here." And he said, "Wow, I've never seen anything like that, especially at your age." And I said, "Well, it's easy to do. You just got to know how to do it." So, and he didn't ask me how I did it, so I'm glad he didn't. But anyways, so that's one of the benefits of taking enzymes in between meals and taking it on a regular basis is your oxygen level is going to be as high as it can get. And always remember the ability of your body to have mechanical movable energy and strength is determined by oxygen. The minute you become depleted of oxygen or start running out of oxygen, your muscles swell up, lactic acid's released, cortisol, the hormone elevates, creating stiffness and soreness. Everything slows down and your energy goes to pot in the handbasket real fast. So it can actually increase stamina, it can increase exercise and activity. It's one way to get rid of a lot of allergy headaches. Most migraine headaches, over 90% of them are food allergy related. Well, why is that? Because your body lacks an enzyme to break down a specific food you've been consuming on a regular basis. And these enzymes, they have just about any kind of an enzyme, and there's such high activity and such a tolerant strain that there isn't anything that you could consume that this enzyme wouldn't break it down and digest it. And then that's one of the earlier on things, herpes and chronic migraine headaches, grand mal headaches and stuff. People got rid of those things relatively shortly, literally within a couple of weeks. They started noticing a big difference where they don't have headaches anymore. So we finally got the body the enzymes it needs to start digesting these allergen proteins that were creating this huge inflammation. There's just so many different benefits. There are a lot of benefits. You're going to live a much longer lifespan. You know, there was a study done at University of Austin, El Paso, on chimpanzees, and they found out that by taking a digestive enzyme, theirs, by the way, was just a pancreatic enzyme, but it was orally administered, that they figured that chimpanzee would actually extend the lifespan 23 to 27 years. There was another study done by the Centurion group. Now, theirs was a little bit skewed because they only ate one meal a day, the same amount of calories in one large serving between 10 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And you could slow eat, or you could eat all of that in one big serving, but they only ate once a day. And they found that they could actually increase lifespan by as much as 33 years. Think about that. If you're dying in your 60s and 70s, you could live well over 100 years of age just by one large consumption of a meal rather than 4 or 5 smaller meals put together, which is how you lose weight, because you're constantly revving up and you keep your immune system or your metabolic activity, your cell activity at the most revved up it can be, because nothing will influence a revved up metabolic system more than protein from your daily diet. So these are, like I said, if you really understand the body, you can lose weight with them, you can extend lifespan with them, you can do all kinds of things if you just follow it all through from A to Z and understand each step of the way. And that's what most companies don't do. They don't take the time to educate everybody A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. They just make these whopping claims and expect ignorant people to buy into it, which they do by the hundreds of billions every year throughout the world and stuff, which drives me nuts. That's why I do these calls. So did that help you out a little bit?
A lot, yes, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody?
Yes, Ron. This is Susan. I have a question.
I knew you'd be on here. Go
Hi.
ahead.
On a live blood analysis test, what will I see after taking Sterol for 3 months? What will I see different?
On a live blood cell analysis, what will you see different? Well, it all depends on what your initial blood test looked like.
Okay. Well, I didn't have a lot
describe to me what your initial blood test looked like. Let's start with red blood cells. Were they clumped together?
No, I think it was on that chart. I don't have it in front of me. No, they weren't. They were beautiful. The one thing.
Now, was there a whole bunch of platelets sticking together and all of that kind of stuff?
There was a little bit, a little. I wouldn't say a lot, but there was a little.
A one. Okay, so there was
Right.
some. And then let's go down to the fungus and the yeast, Candida. Did you have any of that?
I did not.
Did you have a lot of L-form bacteria?
No.
No?
I've been taking plant enzymes also now for a while, and I did have 100% of my oxygen. So,
Yeah.
Parasites.
Well, did you actually take a blood test before you started taking enzymes?
I did
Or
2
have you
years
just taken
ago.
a blood test since you started using enzymes? Well, get out
No,
that blood test, because you'll be able to compare that one to being on this one, and you literally can see the progression and start to change the blood in as little as 1 hour. Then it's
Okay.
how long can I sustain that beautiful, pristine blood environment that I just came from an hour ago? And the longer you stay on enzymes, the longer you're going to be able to sustain the environment. And
Well, everything drastically
reacts to the blood.
improved. I had a blood test 2 years ago. And so, yes, everything improved a lot from 2 years ago.
And that's very common for everybody that's on this product. That's why we have people that are on this phone. I know for a fact they've been on this product at least 10 to 15 years, if not more.
That's awesome.
Well, people don't stay on a product that long unless they're getting some benefit from it. And I mean very noticeable benefit. So you're definitely going to notice energy, more clarity, less aches and pains, because you got more oxygen, you got more red blood cells separated that are picking up more oxygen. I can't even begin to name all the benefits you're going to get from having enzymes and noticeable difference in those kind of things. And each person is different. So each person, according to their genetics and their programming, are going to come up with different issues of disease, illness, susceptibility to bone injuries and infections and so on and so forth. So that's why it's important to have that test done once a year. I don't say you have to have it done twice or 3 times a year. If you're first starting, you definitely want to have it done at least 2, if not 3 times your first year. And after that, I tell people, look at where we're at, look where we started, now look where you're at. And then you go again, just another 5-6 months later, now look where you're at. Wow, what a difference. It's day and night difference. It's not even looking at the same body anymore. And I says, I only want to see you one more time. And after that, I don't want to see you but more than maybe once a year. And I'll probably just after that second year, just tell you, go live your life. And I don't want to see you anymore unless you stop doing what I'm telling you to do. And then you're going to get a butt chewing when you come back here before we even talk about what your issue is. And I've had people like that. I had a gal that had breast cancer. Met her over in Seattle, Washington. Dover knows who she is. And I'm not going to say names, but she got on this. And when they first met her, she was actually in a wheelchair. She had cancer in her bones, and her bone tissue just was not healing. And they wanted to amputate her legs at the knees, both of them. And I went back over there a couple of years later, and she was standing up, 6'1", 6'2". She's a tall, dark-haired gal, and I didn't even recognize her. And she told me, she goes, no, remember the gal in the wheelchair? And I'm like, holy crap, that's you? Yeah, you're a lot taller than I remembered. And it healed her bones. And then she got breast cancer, so she came to me again. We got rid of her breast cancer. Not once, not twice, 3 times. And each time, about 5 years in between, here she comes. And I said, you know what? Why do you keep doing this? You already know what works. Quit bugging me. Just get off your butt and do what you need to do in order to keep your body and your life healthy. It works. This is what, your 3rd time now coming after this? And the minute you stop doing it, your body goes right back to the way it used to function, which was inadequate, which is why you got cancer in the first place. And here cancer comes screaming back again. Once you start this stuff, you cannot go off of it. You can't, because when you go off of it, your body's going to be deprived of the nutrients that got your body functioning to that optimal state where you're living a great quality of life, disease-free. And the minute you lack those nutrients, your body's going to go right back to the lack in functionality of efficiency, and there you go. Now you're right back where you started from with all the same disease, illnesses, and crappy life quality conditions. So,
Hey,
did
Ron,
that help
I
you
have
out at
another.
all? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, if someone is on a blood thinner, can they take plant enzymes?
Great question. It says on the bottle, do not take upon blood thinners. Now, the question I would have for the person you're referencing to a blood thinner, what is the blood thinning medication? Because there's only one medication that you have to worry about, and it's called Coumadin. It's the same ingredient in decon rat poisoning, identically the same. And it's a very, very aggressive blood thinning medication. And if you're on anywhere above 15 milligrams of that blood thinner, you absolutely stay away from my enzymes. You can't use them. Because the natural property of protease enzymes is to break down proteins, which does what? It naturally thins the blood, makes it circulate much easier, more efficiently, and it's a lot more fluid. So if you cut yourself, just like with Coumadin, and warfarin's down below there, it's about 5 milligrams of warfarin. But yeah, Coumadin is the one I worry about. And you don't have to worry about it unless you're consuming 15 milligrams or more. If you're over the age of 75 and you have 10 milligrams or more, then I would say you probably don't want to take this product. You can wean your way off of any blood thinner, but that means you slowly take the enzymes for a much, much longer period of time. There's no such thing as 2 or 3 per meal. There's just 1 per meal until you start backing down on the milligrams of your Coumadin. Then you start increasing your enzymes as you back down lower and lower on the Coumadin. And you can eventually replace any kind of a blood thinner with digestive enzymes, because it'll get to a point where your doctor will actually say, what's going on with you? Your blood's getting really, really thin. What are you doing? And he'll tell you, well, get rid of those enzymes. You know, your blood's getting too thin. Of course, he's not going to take you off your medication. But that's something you and your doctor have to decide and talk about. But I've helped a lot of people get off of their blood thinning medication and have great blood pressure and everything else. So, but Coumadin is the one blood thinner that I do worry about. Everything else, aspirins and Plavix and all that stuff, it's not aggressive enough blood thinner to put you at risk of having too thin of a blood. So does that help you out?
Yes, that did. You answered the questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments real quick for the call?
Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a comment, but a question. And you were talking about, and I know you're Mr. Compliant, so I got to bring it up. But you were talking about an individual who had the breast cancer that we know, and I just want to clarify, you know, because she, you know, no longer had the breast cancer, et cetera. You said it, and we got rid of her breast cancer. I just want to clarify what you meant on we got rid of breast cancer.
We, meaning Enriching Gifts products, and the immune system specifically is what got rid of breast cancer. Again, and I'm glad you bring this up each and every call, Dover, because I don't want to be misconstrued as making claims about how my product cured cancer or this disease, that condition. No product in the world will treat, cure, or prevent any disease or illness. It's just nutrition. But what part of the body can treat, prevent, and cure the body of any illness? The human immune system cell network can. That's what does it every day of your life, as long as you're living till you're dead. And only the immune system can alleviate cancers and diseases. Only the immune system can prevent viruses and bacteria from even getting into your blood system before they're destroyed before they even get to circulate in the body. Only your immune system. Anytime you ever hear anybody talk about alleviating a disease or an illness or preventing a disease or illness in the human body, do not let them stick it on a product or a label. It's the human immune system, stupid. So I'm glad you really brought that up, and we always want to make sure that that's very clearly understood, because I am not a company that distributes potions and pills and gizmos and gadgets and all this other crap. I educate people, and I want people to understand this is what Sterol Max can do for your immune system. But what did I say earlier? You can increase your immune system cell size up to 5 to 6 times larger. You can increase the content, the nucleus stuff that the cell functions from, up to 400%. You can increase the overall efficiency of functioning of any one of the immune system cells up to 759%. And that's done with nutrition. But it's the functionality and the enzymes within the cells that make up the immune system cell network that actually dissolve, destroy, that prevent and get rid of disease and illness in the human body. And that's exactly the way it works. So I want to be really clear, and whenever you're talking with people, trying to talk to them about our products, I want you to be as clear as I am on this call tonight. Our products don't treat, cure anything. But boy, let me tell you what they do, because that is nothing short of a miracle and incredible. So, good clarification, Dover.
No, thank you. I appreciate the answer.
Yeah. Anybody else got any questions last minute real quick? Any comments?
Hey, Ron.
No? Yeah.
This is Linda, and I was wondering about the probiotics, if they're coming in soon.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got our hard algae in today. We got a whole bunch of boxes back there. So anybody has hard algae on back order, it's all going out tomorrow morning. And I'm expecting our probiotics literally in Friday.
Oh, okay,
tomorrow.
Great.
So,
and this was a great call, too. I just wanted to tell you, Ron. Very good.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, hopefully everybody understood, because that's I'm only as good as your understanding of what I'm saying. And if everybody understands, and if you don't understand, please ask questions. Don't ever be afraid to ask questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question. we are all ignorant in different fields of our life, me included. And I have a pretty doggone high IQ. It's way up there. It's in the 170s, so real high 170s. So, but there's no such thing as a stupid question. I want really everybody to understand, because it's through understanding and comprehension of this conversation that everybody is going to be able to get a greater quality of life. And that's what my goal is. That's what I want to really reach out and give of myself to society, so that that goal can be achieved by everybody. So, well, thank you very much, Dover. That was a great call. And next week, we're going to talk about the daily detox. And that's the next product in our fundamental 5, if you will.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Ron. This was fantastic, as always. And like you said, next week, join us. It'll be exciting. And again, Ron, just appreciate all that you do. I learned a lot, and you took it full circle. You know, I remember years ago, and to end the call, you made it very simple. You said for digestion, you need 2 things. You need, heat or water. Enzymes need heat or water, and that always stuck with me. I've never forgot it, and I just appreciate your consistency. You don't waver. You've been the same since I met you, and God bless you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you too. Appreciate you. All right, having a great night, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.